Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adam Courtney, a freelance graphic designer under the alias of Oculus, and today I'll be showing you the first in a series of videos devoted to a behind-the-scenes look at my motion in Flash world intro. Without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Now, I've took the liberty of setting up the first example for you, where we will be having a look at the astronaut in my world intro. For those that you don't know, the astronaut basically does a little spin, ways to make contact with anyone that's watching, and proceeds to fly off again, as astronauts do. In which case, even though the wave is particularly minute, I thought it best to show you just what made the wave. And that is the selection tool known as the bone tool. Now, the bone tool is located on your side bar here, where all your other tools are located. And it is the one with a tiny little bone icon, just on the side here. Now, you'll want to note that the shortcut for the bone tool is M, which, when pressed, shows a little crosshair and a black silhouette of a general cartoon-looking bone. So, going back to our main selection, which you should know is V, we can see that the astronaut is actually built up of a skeletal structure known as the bone tool. And when actually carrying out the motion, we can see that his hand does indeed wave ever so slightly, just to get that little authentic, I'm out here in space, nice to meet you, kind of feel. Now, I set up an example just to explain this a little bit further for you so you can just grasp the concept of the bone tool. So without further ado, we'll just go ahead straight to that example. So here is an example of the bone tool. It's a simple blue figure silhouette, nothing really fancy. And we're just going to position this, create our basic wave, and your better understanding of how the bone tool actually works. So basically, first of all, I'm just going to explain to you what the bone tool is. Now, the bone tool is essentially a 2D rigging tool, which is actually similar to 3D because 3D is the first that used rigging, but in this case, it's used for 2D just so we can create minimalistic or simple movements for 2D infographic style or simple animations. So basically, to start off, what we're going to have to do is we're going to position all the parts of the body. Just zoom in here. And we're going to want to position them to line up so we can actually create the rigging that something won't be too amiss because, and you should note this, that when you create the bone tool and it's basically, it's not set up in any position, like particularly, you will actually have like a lot of problems maneuvering the tool, which is really difficult if you're a beginner. And so just to like save you some time there, it's best just to start out and make sure that your positions are all set up before you begin essentially using it to animate. So we're just finishing off the arm here, and we're just gonna do a little wave like just like the astronaut was doing, just to stick to a schedule, and you can just so you can stick to it and see how it actually works. And what I'm doing is I'm just zooming in to make sure the whole arm is all aligned. It's not exactly totally aligned there. So it's aligned. And so this is going to be essentially what we're going to be making. This is the wave. This is how it's going to move left and right. Essentially, you can see what it's going to look like already. And essentially what we're going to do here now is we're going to just assign each section of the body, legs, and all this their own essential symbols. So first of all, we'll start with this one, and this is the upper left hand. So now, when creating a symbol, it's good to note that F8 creates symbol. It's actually the hotkey for symbols. So you want to press that every single time. And just to add on a note to that, when naming your symbols, it's best to name it something that's very straightforward, very to the point. So this one is, as you can see, as it's from selected, this is the right arm lower, and I'm calling it MC because it's actually a movie clip. Now there are different forms, obviously, there's a button and a graphic, but movie clip is the general standard one that we'll use for symbols at this point in time. So as you can see, I've created a symbol. It's here, it's in the library, it's essentially placed on the map. Now, just go ahead and create the rest of the symbols. I'm essentially setting up a naming hierarchy. They're all having the same name in terms of the symbols. So you've got left, upper arm, lower right. So basically I'm just making up the body as I go along. So essentially we have all of them done now. And now I just want to set them all up to have, just make sure, because I did a little bit wrong. So I just want to make sure that they're all right as in terms of the naming hierarchy. Right, so they're okay. Alright, so now you'll just press M again for your bone tool, and basically with the bone tool, your rigging only allows one part per joint. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the joint and you're going to drag it to the next one, just where the joint connects. So you'll probably want to know that you want to click it again and drag it up and drag it down to the next one and drag it down to the next one. And from there, you'll want to drag it up to this, up to the top one here, and obviously to the top one here as well, and obviously to the bottom one here. So that'll cover all this. And then essentially you want to drag this up to the head. And you'll want to switch back to V, your selection tool, and essentially now you can now move your body, and thus you can create. It's a little tricky. That's okay. Like, that's what animation's about. Just getting used to kind of stuff like this. And essentially, what you can do there is insert pose and just change the pose, and then you can essentially use your bone tool, create a nice little wave. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed seeing how the bone tool was used in my animation effectively. I hope you learned something from this little behind the scenes look at the bone tool. And I hope you'll join me for next time's video, where we'll take an in-depth look at shape tweening. Essentially, I'd like to thank you for watching. Thank you for partaking in this video. And until next time, remember,